The Sweet of Kindness to Neighbors. In the heart of a sun-drenched town lived a boy named Sami. He loved the smell of cinnamon and the crunch of warm dough. Every Friday, Sami didn't just eat his cookies. He filled a wicker basket and set off down the lane. He knocked on Mrs. Gable's door and left a treat for Mr. Henderson. "A neighbor is like family," Sami's mother always said. But Sami didn't quite understand how deep that bond was supposed to go. He just liked seeing his neighbors smile. That evening, Sami sat with his grandfather, Yusuf. The old man's eyes twinkled like distant stars. "You have a good heart, Sami," Yusuf said, leaning forward. "The Prophet taught us that our neighbors have rights over us so great that it's as if they are our own heirs. To be a believer is to ensure your neighbor is safe and happy." Sami tilted his head. He imagined his neighbors inheriting his toy cars, and he giggled. Yusuf reached into his vest pocket and pulled out a small, shimmering object. It was a sweet, shaped exactly like a tiny pink house, dusted with sparkling sugar. "This is a special gift for those who seek to understand," Yusuf whispered. "Eat it before you sleep, and you will see the world through the lens of the heart." Sami took the sweet, feeling a strange warmth tingle through his fingertips. That night, Sami popped the pink sweet into his mouth. It tasted like honey and rosewater. Suddenly, the walls of his bedroom began to swirl. The floor turned into a mist of silver clouds, and the ceiling drifted away into a violet sky. Sami felt himself spinning gently, lighter than a feather, floating through a tunnel of light until his feet touched solid ground once more. Sami found himself in a place that felt very cold. The everyone-for-themselves neighborhood was a gray, silent city. Every house was surrounded by high iron fences topped with thorns. The windows were shuttered tight, and heavy padlocks hung from every door. Sami tried to say hello to a man walking by, but the man pulled his coat tight and hurried away without a word. The air felt heavy with loneliness. "It's sad, isn't it?" A voice chirped behind him. Sami jumped and turned to see a girl with a bright yellow scarf. She looked about his age and held a glowing lantern. "I'm Jira," she said with a kind smile. "In this place, no one knows their neighbor's name. They think that by locking others out, they are keeping themselves safe. But look, they are only locking themselves in." Jira took Sami's hand. "Come, let me show you the truth of the Prophet's words." She led him toward a shimmering archway at the end of the gray street. As they stepped through, the cold wind turned into a warm breeze smelling of jasmine. The gray vanished, replaced by a riot of colors. They had entered the neighborhood of open doors, where the fences were made of flowers and the gates stood wide open. In this new neighborhood, the streets were filled with long tables. People were carrying platters of steaming rice and baskets of fresh bread from one house to another. Children played together in one big garden that spanned 3 different homes. "Here," Jira explained, "everyone looks after everyone. If one person is hungry, the whole street cooks. If one person is sad, the whole street listens." Jira stopped by a fountain and looked at Sami. The Prophet said, "He is not a believer whose stomach is full while his neighbor goes hungry." It is not just about cookies, Sami. It is about a heart that is always open. When we care for our neighbors, we build a bridge to heaven. Sami watched as an old woman handed a warm blanket to a young man sitting on a porch. Sami realized that the neighborhood of open doors wasn't a different world, it was a choice. "I want my home to be like this," he whispered. Jira nodded. "The sweetness you tasted is the joy of connection. When you return, remember that your neighbor is your brother and your sister. Your kindness is the key that unlocks the heavy gates of the heart." The world began to swirl again, the colors of the open doors fading into the soft moonlight of Sami's bedroom. He blinked and found himself tucked under his covers. Grandfather Yusuf was gone, but the room still smelled faintly of rosewater. Sami sat up and felt something hard beneath his pillow. He pulled it out and gasped. It was a small, ornate key, glowing with a soft pink light. The next morning, Sami didn't just bring cookies to his neighbors. He brought a tool kit to help Mr. Henderson fix his fence, and he offered to read books to Mrs. Gable. He realized that the pink key didn't open a physical door. It opened his life to everyone around him. Sami smiled, knowing that as long as he shared his heart, his neighborhood would always be a place of open doors.